Okay, we're going live on YouTube right now. Okay, welcome everybody. Welcome to our YouTube live Q&A. We're going to be talking tonight about the upcoming course that I know a lot of you are excited about. A lot of you have some questions, some details about the upcoming course, so we are here to answer your questions. If you would like to sign up, we will be sharing the link in the description, as well as you can go onto our website, and our website will have the link on top of our website right there. This is going to be an four-part upcoming course. The title of the course is Unlocking Your Potential, which is a new topic, something that Rabbi Friedman hasn't tackled yet in a course structure. And I'm sure a lot of you are already excited, and a lot of you signed up already. For those of you who haven't yet, here is your chance to ask your questions, and go ahead and make sure to sign up before the first part, which is coming in exactly a week from tonight, Tuesday nights at 8 o'clock. So we're going to start off. First of all, welcome Rabbi Friedman. Thank you for being here. Rabbi Friedman, can you start us off with a short synopsis of what you feel you'd like to cover in this upcoming course, and how you feel that this course can help many, many people, which I'm sure it can.
Well, there's what I would like to cover, but we also want to hear from the people what exactly they're expecting and hoping for, because unlocking potential can mean so many different things to so many different people. So we had one session where we covered a lot of possibilities, many, many interesting details or aspects from uncertainty as to the future. What exactly should I be developing? Is trying to develop your potential a limiting way of looking at things? Can we go beyond our potential? Very interesting considerations. I think what came out most often, and most people, is figuring out, what am I supposed to be doing? Because, we have a lot of potential. You can potentially be a private citizen. You can potentially be a teacher. You could potentially become a professional. Which way should I go, given all these potentials? And you can't do them all in some cases. So how do I pick? How do I choose? How do I know which one I am meant to do, which one I'm meant to be? Very, very important questions. Now, it turns out that this corona business, the lockdown, the quarantine, has brought a lot of people to this question and to this need to know. People have become much more thoughtful and considering what, the craziness and all the doubts and the uncertainties. We're trying to sort things out. Before Corona, we were kind of busy. We had our routines that kept us busy. We ran here, ran there. Like that famous joke about a woman who says to her friend, between the gym and the Pilates and the self-defense courses, I have no time for myself. I have no time by myself. But when all of that ended, or at least stopped for a while, people had to rethink everything. And when you rethink, you go a little deeper. So now people want answers to some deeper questions. I know how to entertain myself and keep myself busy, but I don't want to do that anymore. Now I want to know that I'm on the right path. But what is the right path? Is there a right path? And if there is, how are you supposed to figure it out? That seemed to be repeated a number of times from I think it was 40 people. This came up the most often. How is how is living up to your potential? How is it related to happiness? Should it produce happiness? Do you need to be happy in order to live up to your potential? Do you need to be in a positive frame of mind? Or will living up to the potential bring the positive frame of mind? How do these things work? Questions that we haven't thought about for a long time. So if we could have people send in or voice their interest, what are you hoping to learn? What do you mean when you say potential or unlocking potential? If anybody wants to volunteer that information.
We're just getting started, so people are still filing in. But Rabbi Friedman, what about more? If a person already knows their potential, I'm sorry, if a person already knows their mission, but they're just having a hard time executing. They're having a hard time getting through the grind of life or the pressures that are coming at them from all different directions. Does Torah have any recommendations or thoughts about that?
Well, there's certainly good ideas and good suggestions. But if you know, you're ahead of the game. Knowing what you should be or ought to be, that's a big relief. That's half the answer right there. Now we just have to figure out how to make it happen, which must be possible if this is your purpose. You must have the tools. It's just a matter of locating them and getting past the obstructions. What's keeping you from your purpose? Yes, we certainly can talk about that. Let me mark that down.
Here's a question that came up. Somebody said that they're in their late 40s and they feel like they've taken the wrong direction in life. They feel like it might be a little too late or it's too hard to change, and they feel very unhappy and distraught about it.
Let's all agree that that cannot be. It is not possible. You cannot fail as long as you're alive. You cannot miss the boat. Some people get there earlier, some people get there later, but everything we've experienced so far leads to the fulfillment of that purpose. Maybe it wasn't the way we thought it would go. Maybe we can't even see how it leads to the fulfillment of our purpose, but there is no question that it does. Particularly things that happen to us that were not of our choice. If it was my choice, maybe I made the wrong choice. But if it wasn't even my choice, then it's certainly not a fault, a flaw in my thinking or in my desire. It's all part of the plan. What happens to me is exactly where I'm supposed to be. But even if I made some bad choices, God allows us to make the path and the project more difficult. He doesn't allow us to cancel it. So every day that we have we can fulfill our purpose, we can live up to the potential, and everything that happened before only adds to it and leads us to it. So Hasidim say that a person who thinks, if only I knew then what I know now, then I would have been different. But now it's too late. If only is a lack of faith and a lack of trust and a lack of belief. So we don't go there. We have at any moment the option to either fulfill our purpose or delay it more. But you don't have the option, you don't have the power to derail yourself from your purpose. So there is no too late, and there's no if only. That is not kosher thinking. So yes, we have to talk about that. It's a big subject, actually. What if it's too late?
That leads us right into our next question from Yeti, who writes that my mission is to be a wife and a mother, but I have yet to find my husband.
If your mission is to be a mother, you will be a mother. There's no question about that. Well, it doesn't really make sense. If God creates you with a mission, that mission is essential to God's plan. So for it not to happen doesn't just frustrate you, frustrates God. That is not likely to happen. So if you're meant to be married and you're meant to have children, then of course you will. If you're meant to be rich, then you will be rich. If you're meant to be strong, if you're meant to be an influencer, then you will be. You can't stop what is destined. You can only make it more difficult or delay it. You can't stop it. We don't have as much power as we think we have. When it comes to accomplishing great things, we admit that we don't have power. But when it comes to messing everything up, we think we have endless power. we can destroy everything and everyone. And no, we can't. No, we can't. In fact, we have more power in the positive than we do in the negative, because God doesn't mind when you exercise positive power, but he really does not allow you to mess up life, to mess up the world, to mess up other people. No, we don't have that kind of power. That's really part of our faith, part of our... You cannot really mess yourself up. You can't. Well, what about a person who spends all his life doing terrible things and wasting his time? Well, all of that is meant to reach a peak, to reach a tilting point, and then all of a sudden it turns around, and all of that becomes part of your return energy, the rebound. So nothing is ever wasted. Even your mistakes will eventually compel you towards the right direction, and that energy is necessary. So just like God will never allow us to destroy the world, why would he? It's his world. Why would he let us destroy it? So no, that's not even possible. That the world comes to an end, not in God's plan, not going to happen. So let's not attribute too much power to our free choice. Our free choice only determines the quality of our own Menschlichkeit. But the destiny, the plan, the planet, the future, you can't derail it. Not even the future of your own purpose in life. Now, of course, you hear about the idea of a soul coming back for a second lifetime because they didn't complete what they were supposed to complete in the first lifetime. That's a pretty common thing. It doesn't mean you messed up your life. It means there's more to be accomplished than you can do in 80 or 90 years. So none of this despair, none of this too late, if only, if I could live my life over. You don't need to live it over. You're still living, and you can transform all the negativity of the past into a glorious, positive conclusion. That's the power of tshuva, the rebound energy.
In choosing a purpose in life, when it comes to, let's say, the question that was posed before, that my purpose is to be a mother and a wife, and I've yet to find my husband, how do you know when it's time to move on to a different purpose, and how do you stick with what you think is right and stick it out till the end?
I'm not sure what the end means. The end means when you're too old to have children. Well, yeah, when that time comes, then you know this was not your purpose. But until the last minute, you hang on. You don't give up. Maybe that's the purpose. So you don't throw in the towel until you actually have to. There are people, I think, who have a certain intuitive sense, and they don't even have a doubt. They're absolutely confident in some intuitive way that that's not for them, and they go off and make a life other than marriage and other than children. They don't ask and they don't question. They know. It's clear to them. But if you have a question and if you're not certain, then the safe thing to do is to assume that you are part of the average mainstream, that you get married, you have children, you have a family, and so on. Don't give up on it. That's the general. But we're not here to give answers. We're here to open up issues. So let me mark that one down. Also, knowing what your purpose is doesn't mean that that's all you do. Life was not meant to be a single ingredient meal. You do a lot of things. Question is, which of all of those things is the center of your life? Because we need a focus. If you're doing 4 or 5 different things and they're all of equal importance, you feel compromised. But if you know what your focus is, one of the 5, then the other 4 are a pleasure. So it's not like you sit around waiting to get married because you think that that's your purpose. If that's your purpose, then it will happen. In the meantime, how are you using your time? How are you using your talents? How are you using your gifts? So we're not like angels. Angels have only one function. That's all they can do. The angel of kindness can only do kindness, and that's it. It's a one-trick pony. And it's interesting that animals are that way too. If you train an animal to do something, you cannot train him to do anything else. Once an animal is trained, like to sniff drugs, you cannot then train the animal to sniff cancer. There are animals that can sniff cancer. If you train him to sniff cancer, you will never be able to train him to sniff drugs. So animals and angels have that in common. One function at which they're fantastic, but it's the only one. Whereas a human soul has a variety of talents, a variety of functions. One of those is your mainstay. One of those is your primary purpose, but you do a lot of good in other areas too. So we don't sell ourselves short.
We have people joining this live session from all over the world. Is it possible that in one course we can address everybody's mission, even though they are from different walks of life, different countries, different continents, and have different
Yeah,
backgrounds?
yeah, it's amazing how similar we all are. It doesn't really matter where on the globe you are or in what condition you are. The human makeup is what it is. If you're talking about a human being, the needs, the talents, the abilities, nobody has a talent that nobody else has, right? There's no such thing. I mean, you can be better at it than everybody else. Like you can be the fastest runner of them all, but everybody runs. Everybody can run. You may be the greatest artist, the greatest painter of them all, but there are millions of painters. Everyone can paint, not with the same talent. But you would think that people would have abilities that nobody else has. Never happens. So God gave us a certain set of skills, more developed, less developed, but nobody is otherworldly. They even say that the ability to read minds truly is a natural thing that everybody can learn to do. So there are those people who can read minds. Well, are they unusual human beings? No, it's a perfectly human thing, and anybody can train and learn to do it. So there is no human being that has an ability that doesn't exist in anybody else. The same is true in negativity. Nobody is capable of a sin that nobody else can do. Person says, nobody understands my problem. Nobody suffers the way I do. That's not possible unless you're not really human. Your problems, your talents, your weaknesses, and your strengths, they're all common. The question is only to what degree. You can suffer pain, like on a scale from 1 to 10. How many people suffer 10? Not too many, but it's just a little more than 9. And 9 is a little more than 8. And 8 is pretty bad. But 7 is no picnic either. So it's really the same thing, just to different degrees. And that's why we're all human. No one is an exception, not in the good and not in the bad. Even insanity is pretty predictable. All crazy people are crazy the same way.
It's fascinating.
Like
Somebody asked,
a person thinks he's Napoleon. That's because there was a Napoleon. He wasn't crazy. He had other problems, but he wasn't crazy for thinking that he's Napoleon. So then other people can, if their mind is a little disturbed, can convince themselves that they are Napoleon. But if there never was a Napoleon, would anybody be crazy enough or strange enough to actually think they're Napoleon? No, it's not possible. So even crazy people have to follow certain rules. You can't think you're Napoleon if there was never a Napoleon. And by the way, interesting proof that there's a God, because some people think they're God. If there was no God, how can you think you're it? See, insanity doesn't produce original ideas. Insanity means a derangement of the mind. You can't come up with non-existing ideas. It's a serious argument, by the way, in philosophy. We know there's a God because when people think they're God, we know they're not. Yeah? So somebody says, I know nothing about God. So why? What's so mysterious? I'm God. You say, oh, come on. You say, oh, how do you know I'm not God? So you do know something about God. It's like, I'm giving you a $100 bill, but it's counterfeit. How do you know it's counterfeit? Because you've seen the real one. If you never saw the real one, how can you call this counterfeit? How can you say I'm not God if there isn't a God? So we're easily identified. We can describe what a human being is and is not. And you cannot move out of that box.
does Hashem create every neshama? Does God create every neshama or soul with a purpose ahead of time?
That's the very definition of purpose. Okay, that's a good idea. Before we start looking for what our purpose is, how can you be sure that there is a purpose? The fact that we're looking for a purpose, the fact that we're always asking, what is the purpose, is the best proof that anyone would ever need. It's the best proof to the fact that there is a purpose. Nobody goes looking for things that never existed. Nobody. Ever. So the universal and historic need to find a purpose indicates that there is a purpose. We're not all crazy. What does purpose mean? Purpose doesn't mean what you decide to do with your life. That doesn't make it your purpose, it just makes it your ambition, your option, your favorite activity or your favorite profession. Purpose means before you existed, there was a purpose for you to exist. You exist into a purpose, but the purpose is there before you are. Nobody ever created a car and then tried to decide what its purpose is. You have the purpose first, and the purpose shapes the creation. So, was there a purpose for my existence before I existed? Well, that's what purpose means. Purpose means the need that brought you into existence. What makes your existence necessary? Well, it can't come after you exist. Your purpose is the cause, not a byproduct of your existence. So yes, certainly every person that is born into the world is born into the world because God has a purpose for that soul to be born. Otherwise, it wouldn't be. No one can exist without a purpose. No thing can exist without a purpose. No bug, no mosquito can exist without a purpose. See, that's what we mean. God created the world out of nothing. It's not like there were mosquitoes and God is trying to give them a job, to bring down the unemployment. God is not giving things jobs. God has a purpose and he creates the creature that can fulfill that purpose. So every mosquito is created because there's a purpose for that mosquito to exist. And that's kind of mind-boggling, but that's why God gets the big bucks.
Amazing. Well, thank you very much, Rabbi Friedman. I would highly encourage everybody that's listening to go ahead and sign up. The link is in the chat box as well as in the description, as well as on our website. It's goodtoknow.org. And I think it's going to be very insightful and it's going to be very helpful. And God willing, we'll see results now, right after the course, during the course, and for years to come. So we highly recommend everybody please go ahead and sign up and join us for this journey with Rabbi Friedman. Rabbi Friedman, before we sign off, I have one question. We have about 150 of your YouTube followers watching us live now. So, which is not a fraction. It's not even a fraction of your followers. So, we're hoping to hit 1 million soon. We're not there yet, but what if there were two things that your followers understood, walked away with, grew in a certain area? In what area that your followers would grow in would make you happy? Or the question would be, what would your followers do that would make you happy?
Make me happy. I'm happy with the fact that we can talk and we can learn and we can discuss. The process itself is very pleasurable. But what would be the most valuable takeaway? That it's not about me. If we can come away comfortable with the idea, my life is not for me. Everything I have, life itself, is all part of the service. I have love not to save for myself, but to share with others. I have knowledge, not for my own benefit. I got to share it with others. Just breathing, not just for me. You wake up in the morning and you say, "Thank you, God, for giving me another day." And what is a day? A mission, an opportunity to make a difference. So I'm not thanking God for the fact that I can exist. I'm thanking God for the fact that my existence makes a difference to others, to God Himself. Because it can't be just for me. That is not, people say that's a little too humble, that's a low self-image. Has nothing to do with self-image. It has to do with understanding that I am part of something magnificently big, magnificently important. And my own needs, by comparison, are tiny. So am I going to get excited about this tiny little aspect of my existence, or the magnificent purpose and effect and cosmic significance to my being here? The point is, we need relief. We need relief from this constant pressure, the constant anxiety. What's happening to me? What's going to be with me? What about my needs? How do I get where I want to be? It's too much. It's too depressing. It's not right. And it divides us. It separates us. If I'm busy with my need and you're busy with your need, we don't even see each other, even if we're living side by side. Because I'm consumed and you're consumed, and it's not good. It's not healthy. So if anything, and we've talked about this a lot, it's not about me. It's not about me. I don't need to worry about me. What I need to worry about is all the people who need me, the people for whom I can make a difference, beginning with God Himself. So we are here to serve, not to be served. That's everything. So even if I'm not actually serving very well at the moment, but the realization that I am here to serve, that's awesome. That's being in touch with truth. That would be very satisfying. And if you share that itself with others, great. It's a great healing power in the world to stop pressuring ourselves, to stop hurting ourselves with all these concerns about self and the me, mine. Unhealthy, unnecessary. Don't suffer from this. You don't have to. So get excited about the purpose of life, what you're needed for. Don't worry, they say don't sweat the small stuff. Yeah, the small stuff is what I need. The big stuff is what I'm needed for. Does that answer the question?
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you very, very much, Rabbi Friedman, and thank you everyone who joined us. And we look forward to seeing you same time, same place in 1 week's time. And hop on the journey. We'll take it together and we'll grow, and it'll be wonderful for all of us. Have a wonderful night. Thank you very much, Rabbi Friedman, and we'll see you all later.